So I watched episode 3. What did I think? It was better. The story is starting to, progress. Now that the worst is over, I'm hoping that, they killed off Big. Now we're starting to see the development of the other characters and how it's all going to tie in together. Um, Let me start with the positive because there were some things that I thought reminded me of the old Sex and the City. Like that whole piece with Natasha and Carrie finding out that Big left her the money and her stalking her like kind of like how she did before when she tried to apologize to her for um, getting caught cheating with Big. It was that again, and I'm sitting here like, Carrie, you're 55, but why are you still doing what you did 20 years ago? And I get it, it's different now, the circumstances are different, you want to know why he left her the money, but I don't know what the information is going to do for you at this point. So it just made me think of like the old Carrie, and I wondered like, have you evolved because you're doing what you used to do? But again, death does some crazy things to people, so I'm going to give her a pass for that. But I think that whole sequence was good because it gave us some humor. That whole piece when her assistant came out and said that Natasha was in Rome after Carrie saw her walk into the building. That was hilarious. And then when they were on the street and she looked up at the window and she saw Natasha, Natasha saw her. That was hilarious. The Instagram stalking, all of it was definitely humorous. So it did add some levity to a situation that's kind of heavy. I thought that was cute. I liked that whole sequence. Um, the whole thing with Stanford and Charlotte and how he checked her about her not thinking he's part of the clique. I thought that was cool because I could see Charlotte being like that, thinking that it's just them and he's just an outlier and not really respecting the relationship that he has with Carrie. And I'm glad he called her on it. That was cute. Um, so Miranda, let's talk about Miranda. Now, they hinted in the first 2 episodes that Miranda might be an alcoholic or is trending towards one because she's been drinking a lot. She went to that bar early in the day and waited until they started serving liquor so she could have some. And I didn't really pick up on it then, and now, somebody else said it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I missed that. And now we're seeing it this week. She's got the bottles in her bag and everything. That coupled with her and Steve not having sex, and then we're gonna get to the other piece later at the very end when she went to the party and to the comedy show. So the thing with Miranda is interesting to me is that when she said her and Steve hadn't had sex in years, that struck me as odd because in the first movie, he cheated on her and they broke up because they weren't having sex. So it just seems odd that that would happen all over again or that she would let that happen all over again. But it sounds to me like maybe they have an agreement and maybe Steve does step out and she lets it go because she doesn't want to have sex, or maybe he's just come to a place in his life where it's not that important to him. I mean, that happens to couples, um, which would make sense for why she's drinking. And, it just seems to me like Miranda's going through a midlife crisis. This whole leaving her career, starting something new, the relationship with her husband, the drinking. And then at the end, this is kind of where I'm segueing into the part that I didn't like, where you start to get the hint that Miranda might be gay or bi or curious. And I know that the actress in real life is actually a lesbian. So maybe, as an executive producer, she wanted to bring out her real self into this role. Cynthia Dixon, I'm talking about. And that could be it. But it feels like they're pushing this agenda where everybody's everything. So you have 3 characters here, and now you're making one of them gay because they believe that that's representative of what the world looks like right now. And it's fine if it's genuine, but it felt a little forced for me, just almost her infatuation with the podcast chick. She was listening to her and that whole like, yeah, I want to come out. And at the end, it kind of hinted as if they're like, they might do something together. It felt forced. It didn't feel organic to me because for the whole season, since Sex and the City began, I always believed that Miranda was a very sexual person, was very into men. Yeah, she was she wasn't soft and pink like Charlotte, but I never got the sense that she wasn't into men. And just because she is a little rough around the edges and wears her hair short and, is not feminine in like the traditional sense, doesn't make her a lesbian. And I don't know. That just didn't sit right with me. It felt like a little bit of a push, but I mean, I don't know. So yeah, so that's Miranda. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I do hope that she and Steve, um, I don't want to see them break up. I just think they're a really good couple. Like they've been through so much together. We watched them from the very beginning, and even like she said, they're best friends. So me, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just kind of on the fence about Miranda. Um, and like I said last week, I didn't like that whole Karen thing she was doing where she couldn't get her words right and she was offending people left and right. Like that just didn't, that's not the Miranda that we knew and loved. Miranda was sharp. She was smart. She was aware. She just wasn't this person who just kind of like stumbles through life and can't get her words together. So that I did not love, but hey. Another thing I didn't like is Charlotte. Charlotte's striking me as a very flat, one-dimensional character. And so, yeah, Charlotte has always been, this Pollyanna type, just always, glasses half full, which is cute. But it almost seems like she has nothing. Her life is really surface. I know she's raising her daughters and everything, but like, what else is going on with you, Charlotte? What else do you have going on besides, your kids and homemaking and whatever? Yeah, I just feel like that's a little flat. I'm hoping that we see some difference. It sounds like the where her character is going to get a little interesting is her friendship with Nicole Ari Parker. So we'll see if that's going to bring some depth to her character. But right now, she just seems like a background figure who's just always got something positive to say. Um, and always want to see the bright side of things, Kind of like the conversation she was having with Carrie, where she was saying that, she's not wrong and that, Carrie had big first and, that Natasha has no reason to be mad at her. Like, come on, Charlotte. Like, she was cheating with that woman's husband. I mean, whether they were together first or not, let's call a thing, right? So, and the whole scene with her daughter now not really feeling like a girl, or I don't know if this is like a segue to her wanting to transition or I don't know, but it sounds like we're moving towards a case where her daughter is either going to be gay or bi or non-binary or something like that. This just like the Charlotte, I mean, just like the Miranda thing, are we just pushing an agenda here? Yeah. So let's see who else. Oh, so Carrie again. I thought the Natasha sequence was pretty good. Um, the scene where she was snooping through his stuff, trying to figure out, what's going on. I thought that was very old Carrie, something she did in her 20s and 30s. So I wondered if it was actually allowing her character to grow and mature. But again, I do say that death does things to people and it does it brings out things and emotions in folks. So I don't know if that is something that just kind of happens or is this a sign that Carrie hasn't really matured. Um, and another thing, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this, her clothing, that boho chic thing she used to do in her 20s where like she's not matching and she's layering her clothes and she just looks like she just came out the house. I don't know that it's working anymore. It looks a little sloppy now that she's a woman of a certain age, and I'm not saying she should change her entire style, but sometimes she just doesn't look put together. Like she just like that scene with her and Natasha in a coffee shop where she had a layer on top of a layer and she had the side ponytail. She looked messy and it just wasn't attractive. Like it was quirky and cute back in the 90s and the early 2000s, but like as a woman of a certain age, Carrie, I don't know if you should try to polish it up a little bit more. And that was really it. So Oh, one other thing. I did like the conversation that Anthony had with Charlotte when she was telling him about her daughter and wondering if she should be concerned. I like how he handled it because I think what Charlotte is also representing is this new age parent that wants to, um, what's the word? Who wants to give life to everything that their children come up with. Like Anthony said, he's like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Tinkerbell or whatever, but my parents didn't sew wings onto the back of my jacket. Like, you don't indulge everything that your kids want to do or think about, and that's what's going on right now, and that's why you have so many of these kids who are bubble wrapped, and they can't take any kind of discipline or rejection or any of this because their parents are treating them like they are a porcelain and they're so fragile, and that's problematic. And so I thought that that's what Charlotte was doing, wondering if she should, like she said, she put a bowl on the floor for water because her daughter said she wanted to be a dog at one point. Like, really, Charlotte, is this what we're doing? So I like the fact that Anthony had that conversation with her and he was very honest, like, listen, stop, you can't indulge all of this. It's going to pass. She's a child. She's going through a stage. Just stop it. Just tell the girl to put on some damn deodorant. So that was a funny scene, and I thought it was pretty cool because I think Charlotte needs that. She needs somebody to kind of ground her, and stop her from going off in her head somewhere. But other than that, I thought it was better. It was definitely better than the first two episodes. I will continue to watch just because I want to see what happens. They've kind of pulled me in a little bit, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Miranda. Really, that's kind of all I'm curious about. What's going to happen with Miranda? Because Charlotte and Carrie, eh, you know, um, but I'm a Sex and the City fan, so I will watch, and we'll see what happens. But I will be back next week to talk about next week's episode and see what you guys thought, and we'll just talk about it, and that's it. All right.